Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be Squadron for the Super Nintendo. This is a side-scrolling, horizontally scrolling shoot-'em-up by Capcom. It's actually based on an anime from Japan, and it's also loosely based on the arcade game by the same name. Loosely, I say, because there are a lot of changes in this one. So many so that it's almost a completely different game. You go to some of the same levels, but the enemy layouts are different, a lot of the bosses are different, the gameplay feels a little bit different. You've got a more intricate upgrade system in this game, and it's just fantastic. The arcade version is awesome, but this is awesome as well. I love both versions of the game. If you've only played one or the other, I recommend you play the other. Especially if the other is this one. This is a really awesome game, and honestly I think it's one of the best shoot-'em-ups from this era. It's just a really fantastic game, very colorful, it plays well, and it has aged quite well actually. It holds up awesome. So yeah, before we actually jump into the game, as usual, I'd like to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers, so they're going to go ahead and flash by the screen. Thank you guys for your continued support. Same with the live stream super chatters and current channel members. Thank you guys very much. So let's go ahead and hit start. You do have an options menu here, which you have various difficulties you can choose from. There are unlockable difficulty modes on that on top of this as well. We're just going to play through the normal difficulty mode. I know there are people out there that want to see me playing hard and up and so forth, but I'm just not there yet. So we're just going to go ahead and do another playthrough on the normal difficulty. So let's go ahead and exit and jump in. For those of you guys that are new to my channel, I actually did a Let's Play of this several years ago. I had older capture hardware, and I also played with Shin, which is, I want to say the fastest character in the game, but relatively weak. So what we're going to do is actually play with Mickey. I actually ran through this on Twitch a few days ago with Mickey, so we're going to go ahead and just do it with him. Greg is also pretty good as well. You know, he's very strong. He's got a lot of defense and whatnot. So this will differ a little bit from the previous Let's Play, but the biggest difference is just going to be updated commentary and better video quality. So this will probably be the preferred Let's Play for people to watch in the future, as opposed to that old one. So let's go ahead and jump into our first level. After this level, 4 more stages unlock for us, and at that point you can basically pick and choose the order that you want to progress in, which is a really nice feature in the game. So let's go ahead and just jump in. We go to this shop before every single level, and you can buy different planes in this game. They each have different abilities, different arsenal capacities and whatnot. If you save up your money and buy the best ship in the game, which is the F-200, you basically all the weapons in the game are available on that plane. But with these other planes, not all the weapons are available. So you need to try to figure out which planes have certain weapons, and you need to figure out if they're of use to you. For me, a lot of times what I do is I just play this first plane all the way to the end of the game, almost, and then I buy the best plane in the game. We might mix up the strategy. A friend of mine on Twitch told me he likes to buy the second plane immediately, as soon as he can, and then he banks the money and buys the best plane. We might actually try that strategy just to mix things up, and if it fails, what's good is that we can actually grind out on some trucks and whatnot, some convoys, basically infinitely, to just grind out for money, and we can, you know, make up the difference to buy the best plane after that. So, Squadron's got a lot of typical traits from shoot-'em-ups from back in the day. You know, you've got streams of enemies that are of a, a singular color. The orange ones specifically will always reveal power-ups, and orange enemies in general reveal power-ups. So always watch out for the orange enemies in this game. You basically just grab those power-ups. It builds the attack level on your main gun here. They don't do anything for your sub-weapons that you get, but they do upgrade your main gun here. Every enemy you kill in this game is money, so you want to kill as many enemies as you can if you want to try to, you know, get to your better planes faster. And trust me, the better planes are better. They have larger shields, they have greater amounts of weapons you can pick up and whatnot. Alright, so we just took a hit. You'll notice that it's saying danger there in extinct. When it says extinct, your health fills back up. When it's in danger mode, if you get hit again, you die instantly, regardless of how much your health meter can hold. But once it charges back up, you know, it charges back up to as much as it can. So for this first plane with Shen, I believe you could probably tank 3 or 4 hits, and then you'll die if you take another one after that. So your health will go all the way back down to to 0. It'll just constantly flash danger when you're completely out of shield, and then one more hit and you're dead. I like the shield mechanic in this game. It's pretty cool. So, there is a little bit of risk versus reward. You can try to play risky, and, you do run the risk of running into stuff and then running into a bullet immediately after and just dying like that. Even if you had pretty much a full health bar. So you do still need to play relatively safe in this game. So these are various power-ups you can use. On the first level, I don't really use the power-ups. But you can press the X button to switch through power-ups. The Mega Crush is basically a screen-clearing bomb, and that's a really good power-up. What I like to do is, if I can, try to save a lot of my power-ups, or my sub-weapons is what I should call them. Try to save them for boss fights, because that'll make the boss fights a lot easier, especially if I'm just going to stick with these lower-level planes. One other interesting design choice in this game is that you don't mash the fire button in this game. So if you just hold down the fire button, it's got a form of auto-fire. But that auto-fire will stop after about 7 or 8 shots. And so what you do is you have to press the button again. So what I do when I play this game, I just constantly hold down the button, quickly release it, then press it again and just hold it. So I don't have to focus on mashing, but if I want to keep a steady stream of firepower going, I need to make sure to release the button and then press the button again and hold it. And just constantly do that as I play it, as I play the game. That is one mechanic that actually gives this game its very distinct feel. Not a lot of shoot-em-ups did that back in the day, where you can hold down the button, it does auto-fire, but it only does it for a short period of time. Ones that did, a lot of times you could just mash the button as fast as you can, and, the firepower that comes out will actually replicate that. We're gonna go ahead and just use our bombs and just drop them on top of this guy. They don't do a ton of damage, but we're in danger mode right now, so we don't want to take any hits. Go ahead and switch over to our ooh, we actually used... Okay, we just used our Mega Crush. There we go. Alright, so we're pretty much out of power-ups, out of sub-weapons. So we just need to hit this guy. You can sit above him in a little bit, and you'll dodge his Vulcan shot. And there we go. Now, if you don't use your sub-weapons, you actually get the money for those back. Just full refund, which is nice. So if you can get through those bosses without using weapons, then definitely do it. Let's go ahead and do this level first. And we still don't have enough money to buy that first upgraded plane. But after this level, I think we might have enough money to do that. Sometimes you can find hidden items and so forth, hidden power-ups in the levels themselves. So it's good to try to shoot every object that you see in the levels in this game. Sometimes they'll reveal, hidden upgrades and whatnot. So you can get these guys that'll give you, a shield around your ship. Others will replenish your shield. Others will replenish your ammunition, which is actually very handy. One of them is right here. That's basically a screen-clearing bomb. Let's go ahead and switch over to our bombs. The bombs are actually really handy for these levels with a lot of ground-based enemies. So there's a tank right here. We just drop a bomb like that. And we're going to go ahead and use our cluster right here because there's a star. Use the cluster again. I'm actually not too worried about using my sub-weapons on this level. This boss has a very specific pattern. It's pretty easy to deal with. What's not easy to deal with, though, are these helicopters that just don't want to seem to go away. There we go. Alright, we still have a Mega Crush, too. So what I'm going to actually do is use the Mega Crush here. And I wasn't paying attention, and we died. So we basically have to do that whole level over again. But we've got enough money to buy this second plane now, so yeah, I guess that was a benefit. Let's go ahead and use that. Yeah, so this guy actually has much better firepower. The Phoenix is actually really handy as well. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. So we'll definitely do Phoenix, which is a homing missile, and then just basically our standard bombs again. Yeah, so this guy's a little bit faster too, which is nice. He's also, it's also a smaller plane, so it's, you know, easier to do fine-tuned dodging. Yeah, so the Phoenix homing missile is not very powerful, but it is really solid. It does a really good job of homing in on enemies. And there are a lot of shoot-'em-ups where the homing functionality just doesn't work that well. But you don't really have that problem in UN Squadron, which is nice. The homing actually works really well. See, just like that. Let's wait for some enemies to appear. There we go. Alright, back to the boss. See, my death earlier, like, just really goes to show, like, you need to pay attention when you're playing this game. If you're not paying attention, you're going to die. And that's basically why I died. I just wasn't paying attention. What I want to do is destroy these docks, though. Enemies will constantly spawn from them until you destroy the docks. So that is my #1 goal. Once you destroy that, it's easy to deal with these guys. You can also destroy the bays where the missiles come out from, but it's a little difficult to do so. I'm actually kind of curious. Let's see if I can... Yeah, you can come down here. Very interesting. Okay. Let's actually learn something. Look at that. Alright, that makes the fight a lot easier. So we can just basically sit anywhere here now. We're pretty much safe. Just dodge the missiles as they come out. And that's it. One thing I really like in this game is when you destroy bosses, just they get utterly demolished afterwards, and the artwork on it is pretty solid. This is a very, very early Super Nintendo game, so I mean the artwork still, I think, it holds up really well. The nice pixel art. All right, so here's an example of a convoy. We'll go ahead and do this just to get some free money. And we're not going to use any of that. So one thing you can do is come down and just get hit. You basically just tank. And by the time you flip back around, your shield comes back. There we go. Just like that. And we'll get about $25,000 from this, I think. And there you go. So you don't get any extra money for doing this faster, and you don't get any extra money for doing that without taking damage. So you can just tank your way through that, get a free $25,000, and just rinse and repeat. Notice that the convoys reappear on the right-hand side of the screen. So once you expand the map as you progress, you can just keep playing the convoys over and over and over again. We're gonna go ahead and do this mercenary fight, though. So this could be a tricky fight, especially if I don't have, you know what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use this ship, actually, because it doesn't have... Yeah, it doesn't have the weapons I want. And actually, it doesn't look like I can go back. I have to play it now. Okay, that's okay. Not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and buy the Mega Crush. We'll go ahead and buy the Phoenix. The Falcon's not useful when you're in the air. Just not useful at all. The Bullpup, on the other hand, can be pretty useful. And the regular missiles, I think, are, you know, moderately useful. We'll go ahead and use the Phoenix for this first part here. Because these little ships that come out, you know, they take a few hits. This is a really, really short mission. There are a couple missions in this game that are really short. Which is kind of nice. It breaks up, like, the pace of the game. You know, so not every level is just this long, drawn-out experience. I think UN Squadron flows really well. It's just a really well-paced game. You know, I think they did a fantastic job with this one. Alright, now we're going to switch over to the Bullpup. You see with the bombs, you can drop them from above. These guys are big enough to where it's easy to target them with the bombs. Now the Falcon missile, on the other hand, you just shoot one out at a time. It's very slow. You don't want to use it on airborne enemies. Mainly its purpose is it's this missile that comes out, hits the ground, and just travels along the ground. So if you don't have a floor, it's, you know, almost useless. I'm gonna go ahead and actually do another convoy. The reason I'm doing this is because we ended up buying, you know, this plane. This is $250,000 I wouldn't normally spend. So this is grinding we're gonna basically have to do anyway. So I might as well just mix things up a little bit and just go back here every now and then. Alright, so we're gonna actually do this fight as well. This is another short fight. And then we'll go and we'll tackle those two normal stages afterwards. But basically doing what we just did allows us to, you know, recoup the funds for these weapons. We're gonna end up using pretty much all these weapons. Just to make this fight go a little bit quicker. Alright, so let's actually use the Phoenix here. Some enemies come from behind. Oh, no they don't. I'm thinking of the next level. Every time this guy comes up, he shoots a projectile up, so you gotta watch out for that. And then he shoots up these missiles. And you just gotta watch out for those little things that break apart. I'm gonna go ahead and... Actually, we're gonna save the Mega Crush. The bombs are a lot cheaper. Let's go ahead and use the bombs. There we go. Done deal. It was kind of interesting. I think that boss is actually drawn and animated as a background tile. Or not background tile, but a background image. So the SNES has this specific video layer it can use, like, for, like, constant, like, scaling and rotation. And the way that guy comes up out of the ground looks like it's a form of, like, rotation in a way. Like the Super Nintendo style, like, you know, scaling and rotation. It's something I just noticed recently, so I'd be interested to find out more about that. And when you look at the layers, like the clouds and the water, you know, it seems like they're layered on top of that sort of grayish background, the sky. And so I think that sub is actually layered below those things on that sky layer, and it basically just kind of like transforms up and rotates into view. It's pretty neat. It's a good looking effect, actually. It's an example of, you know, the Super Nintendo's video hardware being put to like really good, tasteful use. So let's go ahead and just grab everything here. So another water level. I actually should have went to the ground level first. I think it's probably a little bit easier. But this level actually has enemies coming from behind, so, you know, things can be pretty dangerous here. Yeah, one thing that gave away the background trick is that background was just completely, like, flat. It was just a complete single color. I don't know if that was a design choice, or if it was because they used it for a submarine that was going to be scaled and rotated. I don't know. I'm not an expert on these things, but I do like to think about them, so... Yeah, so probably the most dangerous thing on this first half of this level are the boats coming up from behind. They basically shoot missiles straight up. And also the planes that come from behind. And we're dead again. Because I am not paying attention. I should be tearing through this game without dying, but I am doing a really poor job of that. Let's try this again. And we'll just switch over to our bombs, actually. I'd rather save the Phoenix missiles for the boss itself. You know, when you in Squadron, oftentimes on bosses there are safe spots, and on this boss, you know, there are a couple spots you can sit to where you're relatively safe-ish. You still have to, you know, watch out, and you still have to dodge here and there, but... You know, you in Squadron's not the kind of game where you usually have to constantly move on boss fights. It's like, okay, sit here, here's a safe spot, okay, you're safe for about 5 seconds, now you have to move up, and then get back into your safe spot. You know, it's that sort of dodging. It's nothing too intricate for the most part, although there are a couple bosses later on in the game that can be really tricky. Especially the second to last boss, you have to actually do, you know, some dodging. And the final boss you have to actually dodge too. Now, one of the downsides to dying in a level is you lose all the weapons that you bought, so all that money is just flushed right down the drain. Gonna go ahead and just use our Phoenix here. So one of the things, like, I can just sit right here, basically, to try to destroy this first turret. Same with this second turret. And this is what I should have done the first time, but I wasn't really thinking. And we're going to rotate back around. And that was really close. That was actually our last, that was our last hit. If we got hit one more time, we would have died. But at least we got it. So we're at $445,000, so a little over half to go, and we can buy the best plane in the game. But even after that, we'll still have to grind out for some more money, because we'll have to buy a lot of weapons. We'll probably need $150,000 just to equip ourselves with everything in the game. I like to have everything when I get to the second to last stage in the game. So if I wanted to, I could buy another one of these planes. One of them will actually shoot downwards, I think. Either downwards or upwards. I forgot which one it was. Alright, so with all these sub-weapons, actually, this level should go pretty smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to our bombs. And actually, what I could do is use the Falcon on this level. Because again, lots of ground-based enemies. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and use the bullpup on some of these things. Actually, I'm gonna try to save it for the bigger turrets. So, coming up right here... Here we go, right here. These guys take a ton of hits. Nice, first try. And this is the weak point right here. Alright, we're gonna use the Mega Crush here as well. And we'll use the Phoenix on this guy. Nice! That was a good pass, actually. Normally I have to go through this multiple times, because my main strategy when I play this game is I always use the first plane in the game, so I don't have that many sub-weapons to work with. But I will admit the sub-weapons I do have, they're pretty balanced. Alright, so we don't want to pick this top level. This is a very, very dangerous level. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this bottom level, which is a little less dangerous. And I guess what I'll do is I'll switch over to the Falcon. Because again, lots of ground-based enemies on this one. Gotta watch out for these guys dropping, you know, flame bombs on the ground. Fire bombs. And you gotta watch out for these things blowing up. The rocks will hurt you. They will kill you. Not off to a great start, unfortunately. There's a star. Yeah, so that guy can be pretty intense. If you can't take care of those homing missiles fast enough, they're just going to overwhelm you. You're going to get hit, and you're probably going to die. Alright, so at this point, what we're going to have to do is... we're basically going to have to grind out. Or what I can do... I don't know. I'm trying to think. How many lives do I have? I can't tell how many lives I have right now. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just... we'll do some convoys, not a big deal. One strategy to make it go a little bit faster is by just using a Mega Crush. So we'll do that just to show it off. But the problem with doing this is you lose $5,000. And I messed it up, I mistimed it. So we wasted a Mega Crush. So we'll only get $20,000 back instead of $25,000. Basically, the 5,000 for the Mega Crush just countered out 5 grand from that 25 we just got. Alright, and we just do this over and over until we get the best ship. Because there's no way I'm going to be able to beat this next boss without doing this. And actually, since I have a few lives, one strategy I can do is just play the level normally, get a lot of money that way, die, and then maybe we'll have enough money after that to buy the best plane? I don't know. Let's go ahead and try it. But what I'm going to do is not buy anything going into this level. Which is risky. This is a tough stage. This is the toughest normal stage in the game, without a doubt. Yeah, so this boss is very difficult to deal with without any sub-weapons. I mean, one thing you can try to do is sit up here like this, but you're probably gonna get hit. It's very difficult to deal with. So one thing I could try to do is maybe just grind out on these enemies. And actually, that's not gonna happen because I am pretty much out of shield now. That was really close. I almost died. Let's see if we banked our money from that. I think we might have. Yeah, we're at 908,000 now. Okay, so that means we only have to do, we still have to do more, yeah. We have to do a bunch of these convoys. Yeah, this is another reason why, like, I prefer just using my first ship, because that's $250,000 saved. And I don't usually have a problem going through most of these levels with the first ship. So, if we had played that way, it would have saved us quite a bit of grinding, actually. And the thing is, having extra weapon options... Oops, I accidentally selected this level. We have to play through this level again. The thing is, having extra weapon options... makes it so you're spending more money. And so not only are you dropping the 250k on your first plane, or even more on one of the later planes, you're also buying the weapons for them, that you have more weapons at your disposal, and they cost more money, and you're probably going to use them for survival purposes. So that's even more money you're spending. And so by the time you get to this point in the game, you know, you've got to grind out a lot. And if you're trying to go for a 1 credit clear, you don't want to do things like what I'm doing right here, like playing through the level, then dying. Because you might run out of lives, you might have to continue, and there goes your 1 credit clear. If you're that kind of person trying to play that way. What I like to do in this part is have the Phoenix equipped, because it goes through walls as well. So it'll just home around and just annihilate all those little planes that follow me. I mean, it does look like I get decent cash for killing these turrets, which is nice. Yeah, so no more shield. So what I might as well do is, yeah, just try to grind out on these guys all in here. I'm not going to beat this boss like this. And this boss is still difficult to deal with, even, Oh, that was bad. It's a difficult boss, even when you've got all the weapons in the game at your disposal. But I did get some decent money from that, though, so, you know, we don't have to grind out on these convoys as much. So we'll get 25,000 each, but we are gonna have to do this a couple of times, at least. Here we go, there's one. Alright, so we got enough cash to buy the best plane in the game, and that pretty much opens up every weapon at our disposal. Now what would be nice is if you could sell old planes, and then I'd get rid of the F-20. Get my cash back for it. And there we go. And also the Mega Crush costs twice as much, but you get twice as many, which is quite nice. See, one thing I'm gonna try something here too. One thing that might actually be cheaper is, I don't know, let's try the cluster shot. Yeah, we'll get a lot of cash back for the cluster too. Okay, that's a better way to do it. See, the Mega Crush is gonna cost me 5 grand for one. Using one cluster bomb is 1,000. Because you get 10 for $10,000, so if I only use one, I get $9,000 back. So this will help with the grind. So we'll, it'll basically go a little bit faster, that's all. Just like that. Yeah, we were talking about this on stream actually, and we were thinking it would have been really cool if they implemented different, sort of like bonus rounds like this, where you can grind out money. So the convoy concept is really cool, but it's the same thing every time you do it. It doesn't matter which convoy icon you choose. It would have been cool if maybe there was some air missions you could do, kind of like the mercenary mission earlier on in the game, where it was basically a boss fight. Adding more things like that would have definitely, I think, mixed up the grinding aspect a little bit better. The game is set up in a way, we messed up. The game is set up in a way to where if you play your cards right, you can get, to the second to last level and basically have enough money to get the best ship and buy all the weapons for it, without really having to grind. But that takes, a much higher level of skill, I think. Because it requires you to not use sub-weapons for the most part, to bank that money. And you have to have a, really good knowledge of the game and its levels. Looks like I got it. Cool. I thought I missed it. Alright, I don't think I'm going to have enough cash to get all the weapons I want, so what we're going to do is do one more convoy, and then I think we'll have enough cash. Let me count up all the things right now, just to make sure. So it's, okay, 10, 25, 55, 75, so that's 91, it's 101, yeah. 116, 146. Okay, so we need at least 150k. We don't really need the Falcon. We actually don't even really need the Napalm, to be honest with you. Bombs are probably useful to have. Well, mainly what we want are these projectiles that actually go through enemies. So, like, the bullpup goes through objects. Same with the thunder laser. And then these two right here are basically turrets on your ship. This one shoots vertically, straight up. This one shoots vertically at a 45-degree angle, which obviously is really good for that boss. And then the cluster shot is great too, because it goes in all directions and goes through walls. Okay, so one more convoy should do the trick. Now we have to make sure we don't die the boss, otherwise we're gonna have to do this all over again. Which is, frustrating for me, but it's also probably frustrating for you guys watching, because it's a lot of the same thing over and over. I was actually expecting this run to go better than it did. I wasn't expecting to really die at all. My run on Twitch definitely went better, but I'm not really focusing right now. Sometimes that happens when I do these Let's Plays. I like to perform better in these Let's Plays, but sometimes I don't. And with these shmups in particular, shmups can be tough to Let's Play, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot to micromanage. More so than, some other genres. Like, I can play side-scrolling action games without much problem and still talk and play, but shmups are a little more difficult for me. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and use that, and yeah, oh, I'm not gonna pay for the Falcons. And the bombs, I don't really need the bombs either. So we're just gonna stick with the Phoenix for most of the level, and then we'll use the other sub-weapons on the boss fight itself. So what's nice about having bought this this best plane is it's got, you know, the largest shield in the game as far as I'm aware. Also, its firepower, its main base firepower, gets a little bit larger, which is nice as well. Alright, boss time. And we're dead. Ugh, so dead. That sucks. I thought we were gonna have that too. And we don't even have enough money for that. Yeah, well, we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice now. Actually, can I do without one of these? No, I pretty much need these. Yeah. Alright, well, we'll try this again. This is risky, going in like this without being fully powered up. Yeah, not a good start. You know, I really need all this health for the boss fight. Alright, let's try this again. Constantly switching over to the napalm is tough. Looks like we got it. Yeah, using my main shot up there actually did a lot of damage. Whew. Man, if I died again, I'm just gonna cancel out this Let's Play. Because we've died a bunch of times and I'm not focusing and I'm super tired right now. But we did it. We will persevere, we will progress. This last level honestly isn't too bad, so we should be able to get through this without any trouble. The last boss is pretty cool in this game. There are a lot of pieces to break off of them. I like highly destructive or highly destructible bosses, and this final boss is a good example of that. So fortunately, we've got enough money to buy pretty much everything in the game. Let's go ahead and switch over to our Phoenix. The Phoenix is my go-to weapon for just general levels like these, because you have a lot of enemies that come in from behind, a lot of small enemies coming in from all sides. You know, enemies that can be tough to deal with in groups. Same with little turrets. There are gonna be guys that come in from behind here as well. Alright, we're close to the final boss now. And I am doing a terrible job of staying alive. So terrible of a job, I've already lost all of my shields, seriously? Ugh. Okay. Well, we have a shield at least. That's good. That gives me a couple more hits. Alright, we're gonna use the, I don't even know what I want to use here. Let's use Bullpup on this guy. Alright, on to the actual final boss. Alright, so now we've got the bottom opened up. And now we got the top opened up. We just used the Mega Crush a couple times. And you need to hit that core in the middle. What we're gonna do is come here, use the cluster. And that's it! We just beat UN Squadron. Man, we really had some trouble along the way, but at least we did it in one sitting. Still got a 1 credit clear. No continues. But I definitely died a lot more times than I anticipated. But, I mean, that kind of goes to show the struggle of UN Squadron. Like, it can be a struggle sometimes. It's not an easy... It's not what I'd call an easy game. But it's definitely doable consistently if you know what to do and how to play the game. You still have to you still have to be alert. You still have to know what you're doing, and yeah, the shield mechanic in this game is really interesting. Like, you take a hit, and then 2 seconds later, you take another hit. You're dead, even if your ship can technically take more hits than that. It's just, you think, oh, this ship can take a lot of damage, but any ship in the game can die just like that if you're not careful. And that's what's really tough about the game. And it's a good mechanic. It really keeps you on your toes at all times. Yeah, so something I failed to mention in the beginning is I did say this is based on an anime, but the anime is actually called Area 88 in Japan, and very, very old series, and in Japan this game is actually called 88. It's basically a shoot 'em up that's, based on a licensed property, so same with the arcade version of the game as well. And I think that's one reason why we haven't seen this game be re-released in recent years, is that it's tied to that license, basically. That's the idea that I've had in my head anyway, and it makes sense to me. We never saw you in Squadron on the Capcom arcade compilations, not during the PS2 and Xbox era, and not recently. And it's kind of a shame, you know, regardless, you know, whether you're talking about the arcade version or the Super Nintendo version, they're both fantastic games, and it's a shame that we haven't been able to see modern conversions of them. It would be nice if they could get around the licensing and, you know, maybe rename some of the characters or something, or redo some of the sprite work if it's even possible, just to get these games back out, because they're really, really fun games. This is one of my favorite shoot-'em-ups from this era. It's one of my favorite shoot-'em-ups on the Super Nintendo. And I think it's one of the shoot-'em-ups from that era that's aged the best. Like, it still looks good, it still sounds good, it plays very well, doesn't really ever slow down that much. It's a good time, and like I said, it's got a lot of replay value. You got multiple difficulty modes, but you've also got different ways you can go through the game. Like, this strategy I did today, not my favorite strategy, but it works for some people. It didn't really work that well for me, but that's what's cool about you and Squadron on Super Nintendo, is, you know, you can try to go through the game different ways. Like, I want to buy ship number 4 first, and then try to take that through the rest of the game. It's entirely possible. But yeah, really, really awesome game, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching another playthrough of this. If you're new to my channel, then this was probably your first playthrough of mine on this, but for those of you guys that have been around for many years, I again did a playthrough of this back in 2015, and I played as Shin that time. We had a pretty decent run. I don't remember having too many problems at that second to last boss, but yeah, updated playthrough. Hopefully you guys that have been around for a while enjoyed that. So, but yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. That is you and Squadron on Super Nintendo, aka Area 88. And it is awesome. So, I'm actually really glad to have revisited this. I haven't beaten this game in probably a couple of years now. Generally what's happened is, you know, after my Let's Play back in 2015, you know, I'd go back and I'd play the game again on Twitch, but I'd get to that second to final boss, and then I'd crash and burn there. And if I died at that boss, kind of like we did today, I wouldn't try again. Or I'd try once more, and if I died a second time, I'd just turn the game off and switch to something else. But, you know, we were able to persevere today and get through it. It's definitely one of the most frustrating parts of the game, but, you know, if you're on point, you should be able to get through it. So, but anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for us today. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. I've got a lot of Let's Plays and many more to come. For all you guys out there that are already subbed, thanks for the continued support. Feel free to give my video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That really helps my videos get discovered by other people and appear in search results. And, you know, for all you out there watching that continue to enjoy the content, I really appreciate it, and I hope you continue to enjoy the content. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say, so I guess until the next one, take it easy.